Today, I'd like to share what I think is quite a profound discussion that just touches the lives of many men, which is why so many men today are struggling or feeling lost, why we are not able to connect with the essence of our masculinity, or why we even feel confused about what it is, right? So, this isn't a lecture. This isn't some script I have. I've been having to look for this for the last 30 years of my own life because I was given such a poor example of masculinity from my fathers. I've had to really dig in and figure this out for myself. So this really is what I like to call an alignment map of the masculine essence as I see it. And I'm not trying to create reaction, but I am trying to create more coherence for myself and obviously for you guys, right? So the first big thing I see that's going on culturally for so many of us is what I call the collapse of external compasses, meaning for generations we've been taught that if we have external markers like success, status, validation, i.e. a role that a man should fulfill, if we have that, we are successful, we are the man, we are being a good man, right? But the problem is, those are collapsing, and we know that without an internal compass, without a sense of who I am as not a role, but an energy, an information system, a calling, I'm lost because I'm living up to something that doesn't align anymore, right? So this crisis, I see it, of masculinity is not a buzzword, it's a reality, right? So without that sense of connection to what your inner purpose and calling is, and you know how to find it and how to embody it and how to draw on it, there's no bearing for your life. There's no, I like to call it my inner GPS, right? I think that I've got an inner GPS system, so I have a guidance system. Without access to that, I am fumbling around in the dark, and I've certainly lived that way, right? So the second myth I see at the minute right now is this idea of the unbreakable man. And every time I get sick or unwell, I notice it in my kids. I have three at the time of recording this video. They're like, oh my God, daddy's unwell. It's like daddy's so strong and so powerful, he can't get sick, right? And it's like, so that shows me that I've, bought into, or they've bought into this idea that strength is some kind of suppression or vulnerability is weakness. And neither is true, okay? Because, weakness just means I think I don't know. Right. And I think that if I feel like I have to know all the time, that creates performance masculinity, which is the least authentic thing, because of course there are times when we don't know, and we need to make it okay that we don't know, and we need to make our faltering and our breaking down okay, so that we can let our emotions move and use them for their advantage, which is to guide us, to keep us on track. Emotions are feedback systems, right? So true strength, I believe, is the ability to remain coherent, remain centered, even when I'm breaking down with emotion, or even when life around me is collapsing. Okay. And I think that we need to refine and redefine what it means to be strong so that we can embrace more of our humanity. I'm certainly trying to teach that to my sons, at the time of recording this, right? The third thing I see is the loss of initiation. And I'm very aware of this. I have two sons. So one is at the time of recording 13 and a half, one's 11 and a half. And that is, how do we initiate them into what it means to be a man for them in their unique style? Okay, so as I'm sitting here recording this, I'm in my unique style. I'm very at home in my style. I've learned to find my style in my body, in my nervous system. Okay, and I think we have to teach our sons, the other men in our life. How do you do that for you? So I'm noticing men aren't being given rites of passage. They've been handed a role. Do this, be a man, and it lacks any real substance. And not only substance, it lacks inner fire. It's not lighting anything up inside them to do it, right? So without that initiation, their energy, their core, it never stabilizes. It never becomes anything juicy, right? It's kind of dull and flat. Even if it's financially successful, it lacks aliveness. Okay, so we need to, I believe, reclaim the significance of initiation towards our authenticity, which of course leads us to the next point, which is we need people to initiate us. We need people who are themselves initiated, who can help us become initiated. I always imagine the image of a knight, of a king, knighting a warrior, I someone further along saying, yes, you have now gone through that rite of passage. I see you. I acknowledge you. I'm here with you. I've supported you through your struggles. Rise. Okay. And so many men have lacked that. And so they lack the clarity of what it's like to be present with someone who's coherent and centered and powerful and owns themselves. And so they've had distortion, projection, or just absence, right? And so without a decent mirror, without that presence, that power inside a man doesn't get forged, it leaks and it gets distorted and icky, quite frankly. So I think it's essential that we nurture spaces where we can be seen and validated in our struggles and we can be helped on our way to grow. And then a big thing is, well, how do we learn to be present and not just fix? Okay, so I believe men aren't here to fix the world. I don't believe the world needs fixing. I see a lot of challenges in the world, a lot of problems, especially as I've got children and I'm thinking about what world am I leaving behind for them. But it does need leadership. It does need presence. It does need coherence. It does need embodied examples of resourcefulness, of inner guidance, of being dangerous to the culture, not out of harm, not out of abuse, but out of, no, no, I'm not going to listen to the outside culture. I'm going to listen to my inner voice. When that becomes louder, clearer, and stronger, you own your life and you own your destiny. You know, that was taught to me by a man called Dr. John D. Martini. He's a chiropractor. I'm a chiropractor. He came in, told me that when I was a student. I've never forgotten it. So the masculine energy is not a solution. It's a presence. It's a beingness. It's a strength. It's an embodiment. It is a sense of groundedness. It's a sense of there is nothing you can do and nowhere you can go that I won't be because I'm already there. And then there's nothing to fix when you're like that, but you can lead what's trying to emerge. Okay. So we have to shift our focus from fixing and being significant for fixing to being present, to being leaders in present and listening. So we have to create a space for connection and understanding. Okay. And if we just summarize those things, then the first is having an internal compass, not an external one, not a role, not a man is this, but what is my inner GPS telling me? The second thing I see here is, well, let's break this myth of being unbreakable. I Christian Ramian, unbreakable. Right? I break. And so I can be human. I can breathe when things come up and I can move through them and I can grow and I can therefore become more, which gives me more power, actually, not less. We need initiation. We need other men to guide us and help us going, you're a boy, you're a man. And how do you get through that? Because otherwise, even as grown men, we can act like boys. And that is not being weak or struggling, that's collapsing. Those are two different things. So we need a decent role model or brotherhood, other men to go, look, I see you, I'm with you, I'm on this journey, let's go together, right? Which is gloriously powerful. And then remember that we're here to lead and be present, not to fix. So this, I feel, is part of the essence of masculinity. I would like to reflect it to you so you can see what's been lost and see, well, how do I get it back into existence in my own life? Okay. If this is resonating with you, but please subscribe, please like this video, please share it with people that you think would benefit, because I'd like to build a group of men towards connection, coherence, and strength in masculinity. And now that you know this, watch my video on why men are struggling. And there's another one on navigating the masculinity crisis, which look at this from different angles and flesh it out into more depth. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I look forward to seeing you in more soon. Bye for now.